What a way to start, right? So we're just going to start rather. Yeah, well, yeah, listen fast. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm going to start off with an interesting statistic. You know that 58% of high school graduates never read another complete book. But 64% of college graduates never read another book. So eventually, those high school graduates may be passing college graduates in their level of literacy, if you think about that. Isn't that wild? After a few years, there's still a certain number of them are reading. They're going to pass the level of literacy of college graduates because they read, at least some high school graduates are reading. Isn't that crazy? It just seems almost nuts. That doesn't happen with teachers, I'm sure. But I want my students to be lifelong, comprehensible, lifelong, enthusiastic readers. And that's my goal, that in class I want them to read voluntarily in class. So these are some tricks on how I've been able to do this in class. So it's FVR. It ain't just handing out books. A lot of people say, I tried it and my kids don't like reading. And it's a problem. You got to have books and you have to have a procedure and the kids have to know some things, right? If you've tried it and it hasn't worked for you, these are some things that maybe could work. I've done lots of starts and stops. And working. Talk about her when I would do a reading session. We read to her. She was very low in literacy, and her to everything until 7th grade. She didn't need an IEP. She graduated from high school. She went to college. Took her a little longer, but she graduated from college. That 5th grade teacher came to her college graduation. And reading just works like especially with her. We were helping reading to her, but she was picking the books. And this is the big idea: people acquire language by comprehensible input, or I think better, it's comprehended input. They have to understand. If your students have to understand things, you got to get some materials for them. I'm a Spanish teacher, so I'm going to give you some ideas, some examples of me in Spanish. But we're going to talk. We're not going to talk so much about reading or whole classroom. We're talking about students reading alone in this session. So this is why we do this. This is the only poster I have in English in my classroom, and I have it. It's the only poster the only poster in English at the front of my classroom, I should say. And I have it right above the board, right at the top of this thing. And they say, why do we have to read all the time, senor? And I just go, am I hitting it? Yeah, is that it? I just try to do it like all these fancy ways, Am I hitting it? And they go, we know. Oops. It's 10 times faster. And use this line. Say, you guys are pretty good students. Say, and I am no slouch as a teacher. Say that to them, And say, but all of us on our best day are moving in slow-mo if I'm just teaching you lists of vocabulary, if we're just studying stuff. If you're reading, it works. It works 10 times faster. That's why we read every day. And by the way, if this is going to go fast, I'm going to throw everything out like vomit here to you, practically. I don't call it FVR, free voluntary reading, because at least in Colorado, I don't know if it's this way in Iowa, we have too many future lawyers of America in the classes, right? What do they say when I call it free voluntary reading?
Choose not to read.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to read. And say, shut up. You're going to read. So reading, SSR, right? Or sustained, either one of that. I don't. To me, that FVR is the reading on their own in Spanish on their own time because they want to for no credit and no extra credit. Nothing. No to read. Looked like this is from a couple years ago, the beginning of the year. 1st to September. For Spanish 1 classes. Over in the first week and a half of school. Not every kid is doing this. There's just a few superstar kids, but because it's reading, it's because they want to, and we've read a little bit in class, and they've already read a little bit, they wanted to check out books. And because you can let them know that in your class, you can say it out loud, it's okay to be smart in here. I mean, just say that, because it's not okay to be smart in many, many schools, in kid culture. Just let them know, like, by unspoken words, how important it is to read. There's this one girl, Julia, on here. September 1st, she picks out 3 books. I said, Julia, you're in Spanish 1, you know. You really need 3 books, you know, for a weekend? She goes, it's a 3-day weekend. I'm like, okay, you got me. You know, what are you going to do with that, right? And so not every kid's going to do this. And if you say you have to check a book out for FVR, that's not. You want to invite the kids to do this and let the social pressure kind of help make it known that it's actually okay to be smart in your class. I think that's a big thing, big part of it. I want to go back here. This is a slight piece of evidence here. It says here's el 28 de septiembre. This girl was not the best student in class, but she wrote real legibly, and she wrote in black pen. So this is why I chose this. She read Brandon Brown, Quiere un perro. And it was a week much like this, right, where I had to be gone, and the subplans were tell them to do a dual entry journal on the book that they're reading for a sustained silent reading time. Just do a dual entry journal for just 4 pages and turn it in for accountability. For this book, so does it look like she understands this book? I mean, yeah. And she wrote in English, Brandon. Well, the book in English. Why is she writing in English and Spanish? Shouldn't she write it in Spanish? Right? No. You know, she's in Spanish 1. Okay, she's had Spanish for 3 or 4 weeks, right? But she cannot read this and understand this really well. So here's how we get them there. It's by interesting and comprehensible. Where do we hear that? Oh, right before lunch, Dr. Crashen, right? I teach them. Now he would say, this is where I would disagree. I'm loath to say I disagree with Dr. Crashen, but this is how I teach it a little differently. I purposely teach the high-frequency verbs, okay? He would say they're going to get them. They're just going to get them. And that's true. They will get everything they need if you just give them interesting, rich things that they can understand. This is how I get them by teaching them these words. This is how you get them to want to check out that many books. To say, I think I can read this. I can read those books. I can understand those books already within a week and a half. And so if you're taking your notes, it's the first thing you have to have. They have to have the tools, right? They have to have the words to read the books, okay? So they have to have the tools, and then they're going to have the materials, and then you're going to have a procedure. So right now we're doing the first section. The tools. They have to know these words. And so in Spanish, here they are in English if you don't speak Spanish. And if you don't have this book if you don't have these books, where am I? This is slightly out of order here. Here we go. Frequency Dictionary of Spanish, and it has every other language in it too. Or Wiktionary.org. And this is subtitles of spoken media, and so this is written sources. Between these two, it's a good approximation of how language is actually used, probably. I like Wiktionary because it's all the forms of each word. All the variations of every word, like the frequency that they're using. It's every language you can think of. Usually base my frequency on those. So, the Spanish depends on the. But I said this is their repasito, which is a sponge activity, a do now, warm up. They're doing that the second they walk into class. It's got to be done by the time the bell rings. I'm greeting kids. I'm standing in the hall where they're doing this. And it was a girl wants coffee. The boy has coffee. The girl gives the boy a toad. The boy gives the girl some coffee. The end. They're happy. Okay? And it can be anything. I say a toad because this little stuff is actual toad stuff from Guatemala. They're like everywhere in Guatemala. Live ones, the cane toads, invasive species, right? So whenever I go to Guatemala, I get some stuffed toads. You can get them on, I'm not kidding, sapos.org or sapos.com. Like Zappos shoes, they're sapos. But you can actually buy them. But anyway, these are like these high-frequency ones by Terry Waltz and Mike Pito. This is kind of the ones I like to do. Smiles is not high frequency, but the rest of them are pretty much high frequency. I told him this story, and then I said, write 5 sentences about this drawing. And I said, what sentences have we got? How many different sentences do you suppose they did? Second, third week of Spanish. What do you think? Like between the whole class. Every kid only had to do 5. What? That's exactly right. The first hour got about 20 in the whole class. And so this is how you use competition. I think competition should you got to use it, strategically, right? And so I just wrote up on the board. I said, primera hora, 20. They don't even know what that means, Third hour comes in. I said, primera hora tenía 20 frases. That's all I said. And so I said, okay, what sentences? How many? Some student, right? She's just doing hash marks. Like 35. By the time my 5th hour class came, which was my 3rd Spanish 1 class, you guys. And he just kept going up. So they came up with about like this. Now, not every kid wrote this. Your lowest level kids, they wrote like hay un chico, hay una chica. That's all they wrote. Just super simple stuff like that. But some other ones we'd done Head and Shoulders, knees and toes, played the hokey pokey, things like that. And so some of these kids said, the boy's hand is hot because he has hot coffee in his hand. It's like, that's a pretty good sentence for Spanish 1, you know. Not every kid could write that, but every kid could understand it. Okay? And so by fifth hour, I'm just like, just a signy kid. You just point at people, you know, no Sally Superstar. You can't give us 17 extra sentences right now. Everybody gets a shot. Everyone runs out of sense. Okay, Sally Superstar, what's your extra sentences that you thought of that no one else could think of? And that's where you get those. And I just put them in order. And then we did some activities with them the next couple of days. And you don't have to do stuff like this, but this is what can be done. You know, you can show your students, say, look at this. For crying out loud, look at this. You know, you can do this. You can come up with lots and lots and lots of extra sentences like this. So that's, once they do this, after a couple weeks, can they read Brandon Brown Once a Dog, after we've heard the word once how many times here? We've has, is, needs, once. Yeah, I guess there's not a lot of wants in here, but anyway. You know, gives, wants, says, I want, there's some wants. You know. Can they read that book when it's like the word once is on every other page or 3 or 4 times on every page? Yes. That's that's how she could do that. You start them off right. So this is the trick. You give them the tools, give them the words, even in level 1, and then you have to have a procedure. You know, we have materials, I guess, is the next page, and then the procedure. Materials is something that you can own materials. I'll talk about it a little bit, but the procedure is the big one. It works best for me if I do this every day. And I do it every day for 10 minutes. In level 1, they can't. If somebody says, wow, they can't do this for 10 minutes. And even your level 2, level 3 kids can't do this for 10 minutes. It's them to go on the couch all summer. They can't do that. Most of them have not read. You know, a couple of years ago, I've been with the district with the lowest of parental graduation from high school or college in the state of Colorado. They don't read at home. There is no reason to read at home. And but you can get them to read by doing some of these things. Okay. So the procedure we do is every day. I'm out in the hall, I greet them. They have something to do on the board, and they can come in and they know they're going to read, so they'll just pick up a book. And they'll sit down, and then we will grade this repasito. Just, okay, what's number 1, number 2, number 3? Just, you grade your own? Okay, good. Then we're going to start reading. 10 minutes. Have a kid time it. I have a stopwatch. Have a kid, their job is to be the timer. The timer gets up, grabs a stopwatch, and they click. Okay, Timmy, you tell us when 10 minutes is up. So a kid is telling them, not mean old Senior Hedstrom is telling them. Okay? And I grab a chair, and I have my book in Spanish, or an easy one in French, or a really easy one in Chinese. And I will sit in front of them, and I will read. Now, I know some teachers say they sit at their desk and they notice who's reading and they type it in. I don't like doing that because that doesn't show that reading is important. It's monkey see, monkey do. If they see you reading, they're going to see that reading is important. There's a study several years ago. They're trying to figure out why are people more literate in communities with coffee shops And it could be because they're more affluent, but supposedly this factors that out, okay, somehow. The theory is that in a coffee shop is they can publicly see adults reading. And they think that has an effect on student literacy rates, even if it's inner city or something like that. That's interesting hypothesis. I don't know. But I do believe that nobody sees anyone reading anymore. My own student, I read a lot, but my own children didn't see me reading for a long time because I would read early in the morning or late at night, when they were in bed. And so Dad has books laying around, and we have bookshelves, but who knows if Dad actually reads, And I'm like, doggone it. Would you? Someone trying to read, And I just use that same kind of logic, body language, and lines with students in class. I'm just like, I'm trying to read here, And that helps. It helps a lot. What they eventually start doing, maybe not so much level 1, but they will eventually say, Senor, could we just read a little bit longer today? Usually didn't happen until level 2, actually. But they'll say, can we read longer? And by level 3, 4, and AP, they will say, can we read the whole class? What do you do if they ask if they can please read in Spanish quietly for the whole class? What do you do? Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I act disappointed. I go, I have a great lesson planned. So you're going to love this lesson. They go, we want to read. Are you sure? It's like, I want to do this lesson. Fine. Screw up my lesson plans. Go ahead and read. And, I kind of joke with them like that. But yeah, it turns out about once a week they ask if they can read for the whole time. And that makes sense because if it's quiet in your room and they're reading, it's like no other place in their life. And if you're ready for this, it's like no other place in most schools. There is no place that's quiet, controlled, and safe place to read, even in schools. I mean, that's the way things have turned out. I can't understand this, but, we used to have regular deer time, right? Drop everything and read, right? Does anybody have that anymore in your schools? Oh, thank goodness. Wow, okay. Right, where are you from? We need more of you. Yeah, like in our school, they dropped this ages ago because no teachers could enforce it. Kids were just screwing around on their phones, going to the bathroom, whatever, And, they quit doing it. If you can enforce this, if you can pull this off, it's a unique spot for kids to be in. And they will say, because your mind needs about 8 minutes of quiet, uninterrupted, no talking, no other stimulus, but looking and reading to get calmed down and really start focusing. And so the goal is, if you do it for 10 minutes, they're like, dang, I just got into the zone. They will ask you how to do it. But here's what you got to do. You say, no, you can't go to the bathroom. And they go, you're so mean. It's harming my bladder. You're going to hear from my... I say more, it's hurting you. Why? No, you can't go to the bathroom. No, you can't get a new book. Why can they not get a new book? Shouldn't they be whatever book they want? In theory, but what does little Johnny, your worst reader in class, do when he goes to get a new book? And then he's here and he'll dump, sorry, I knocked half of them off, and then he'll come back hitting everybody else all the way. And so Johnny's not reading. No one's reading in your class. Right? If Johnny wants to get a new book, because it's self-selected reading and he didn't like what he was reading. Say, Johnny, get another book tomorrow. This is too easy. I've already read it. Read again. It's so easy. I can read it in 30 seconds. You have to read it 20 times, I guess. You know? And you just say, nope. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't get a new book. You can't put your head down. You can't draw. You can't talk. You can't even point out to your friend how cool this is, because I am on to you. Remember my daughter that was a horrible reader? That's what she did. You know, she had all these tricks to get out of reading. That's why she was bad at reading. She also had some real developmental problems for a while, but all these, you just got to let kids know you're onto them. No, you can't. And if you have to, if they put their head down, you can have a rubric. You have to display reading-like behavior. You know. And the parents say, well, he said he was reading. I say, man, had his head down. What are you going to do with that? You know, you got to tell me how he was reading. He was thinking about the book. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he memorized the book and he was reading it in his mind. Yeah. You look like you're reading to me in my class. And so that has to be a steadfast rule. And I make up little posters, and I have some of these on my website. Just it says, dear students, during SSR, no bathroom breaks, no getting new books. And I have it posted in my room several places, so I can just shine my light on them. Guys, they will do it. That's the main thing that I found is don't let them get new books. Don't let them go to the bathroom, because they will be disrupting the whole time. Yeah.
Does it help when you read another language? Because the first thing I thought of when you said French is I know my students. I don't speak.
Relatively easy for me, and I took French when I lived in Chile when I was a kid. So French is kind of easy in some ways, but Chinese, oh my gosh, I've only. And so it's really, really hard for me. And I said, I want to know what it feels like, to learn, be reading a language you don't get. So that's why I'm reading Chinese.
Okay. Like I said, that was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
So that is a B, really.
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Yes.
I imagine this only happens at the beginning, but if your 10 minutes are disrupted by, when you go to the bathroom and whatever, do you restart the timer, or are you just like being consistent with the 10 minutes each day?
It's 10 minutes each day, and that's all we're going to do, And I say, it's so valuable, we probably should just read the whole time, And actually, I got this through last year in my school. I got a foreign language reading class, and all we did was read. And they got just a general ed credit. They came in, I helped them find books, but they read. I had a class of 30 kids. They just read all day, every day. When they got done with their book, they told me about it. If you didn't like the book, you could pick another one. I had kids reading mostly Spanish, because they were my students, German, French, Chinese, and American Sign Language. I'm like, how are you reading sign language? And this girl goes, I'm going to get YouTube videos and turn off the sound and just watch them doing the signs. I'm like, that's reading. You got me. Yeah, and she got so good at it, it was unbelievable. Had a kid who was born in China but raised in the United States, wanted to read Chinese, and our math teacher bought him the set of the 5 most popular science fiction books in China right now. And so the whole school's been buying into this thing.
Do you have kids want to read on their phones?
No. They have to only read on paper, except for the ASL girl. Right. And because, and this is, you understand much as reading on electronic device. You also remember twice as much, right? You read faster and you remember more when you read. Ability, right? You can't look up words, you can't use the email or whatever. Yes?
If you're doing the 10 minutes, what about the stupid distractions? Like, fire drill goes off. Do you restart your 10 minutes after you've done the fire drill thing?
Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you restart it after?
Yeah, stupid fire drills, yeah.
Excuse the interruption, but would you send blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
class to the wherever?
Yeah.
Okay.
We know, we just try to ignore that. But I talk to them every single time they disrupt my class like that. I say, would you please not disrupt my class? I mean, I'll just call the office and tell them. Or I'll walk down there and I will talk to the assistant principal and say, you're paying me to teach these kids. You can't interrupt me all the time. And that's been a huge problem in our school because we started with about 150 students 20 years ago, and now it's over 1,000. They have they had no rules, they had no forms, they had no procedures. 150 kids, just like, hey, can everybody just come on down to the gym for an assembly? You know, it's like that's how they would do it, you know. And so now they still think they can interrupt us all the time on the intercom. And I'm ruthless. I'm just like, I'm trying to teach these kids. I can't teach them if you're interrupting all the time. You know, you have to come down to my room and give us a piece of paper. You know, don't interrupt me. And you know, I mean, this is where tenure comes in handy, right? You know what I mean? It's like you can't fire me for saying something like that, right? So, you know, and so I mean, do that. Just say, I'm trying. If you hired me to teach, you have to let me teach. You can't hire me to teach and then not allow me to teach. It's like you know, you hired me to do this job, and I'm going to do it, even if you don't realize what the job is anymore. You know? And so I've said that more than once to an assistant principal, and they don't like it. And the assistant principals are gone, and you're still there, you know? So, but, no, that's a great point. Yes?
You mentioned parents talking about the student was reading in class. Are you giving a rubric for the reading?
Yeah.
Is that how you grade it?
Yeah.
A rubric?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a rubric. And I have some rubrics like that on my website, too. Like, what does reading look like in class? And it's just like, you have your book open, and it's in front of you, and you're looking at the pages. You know, it's like, I can't tell if you're actually reading. But it's like, at some point, it's like it's easier to actually read than to pretend like you're reading. Because it's like, you have to periodically turn the pages. I mean, come on. I mean, that's harder work than just reading, for crying out loud. Yeah. I let
Other materials and fairy tales.
Okay, so this is a great point. Let me I'll have slides for this. Let me just tell you this. Novels are I'll just tell you this. Novels are probably the best thing to read because they can make a story simple and control the language, and it can make it really compelling to kids. And most people like fiction. When they read on their own, they read fiction. So that's why novels are really helpful. But you have to get, wherever you get, I suggest you get language learner literature. I mean, things that are written for language for novices. I used to have children's books, and I started finding out that kids were getting frustrated with children's books. You know why? There's more rare words per 1,000 words in a children's book than there is in your local newspaper. You know? I mean, there's little words that little kids know that your students don't know. The average 6-year-old child in a language knows between 6,000 and 30,000 words if their parents read to them. That's a lot of words. Your best students don't know 6,000 words, even in Spanish 4 or 5. You know, I'm sorry, they don't. Right? But we can teach them the most valuable, high-frequency words, right? So they can do a lot. Okay? So, you know, you get a case like this. Some kid says, man, I know I'm smart. I have A's in all my classes. I have A's in Spanish. I'm in Spanish 4. I can't read if you give a mouse a cookie. You know? It's like I feel so stupid. And like they've got something there. Like native, authentic literature has the opposite effect of what we want it to have. It discourages people from ever reading in Spanish again. And I think I actually have that quote on here. I will have to look for it. Yeah, I'll look for it later and show you. But that's a factor. So do we want them to read authentic literature? Yes, of course we do. Yeah, yes. I want my granddaughter, 12 years old, and I want her to read Shakespeare. But I'm not giving her Shakespeare right now. You know, of course. I mean, eventually she's going to read Shakespeare. But right now she's reading simple stuff that's appropriate for her level. Okay, that's what your students need to be reading. It's a bridge. These novels are a bridge. I have my on and I wrote this because you asked about fiction. Most of the stuff that authors are writing is fiction right now, and a lot of kids like nonfiction. I liked nonfiction when I was a kid, National Geographic, stuff like this. This is like National Geographic type articles. So that's, but get language learner literature for them.
The magazines that
Yeah, no, those ones, those magazines that you get, you know, in the, we all get them, you know. Those can be, that's vocabulary control. But a real magazine is not worth it to them. Yeah, it's just, and you know, when people say, oh, they can learn decoding skills. No, we want them reading for pleasure and for content, not focusing on the code. You know, I mean, I know you can relate to this. I was good in Spanish in high school, or in college. I was really good in it. I was the president of the Hispanic Honor Society at the University of Northern Colorado, my alma mater, okay? I was really, really good in Spanish. But in my Spanish literature classes, oh my gosh. And then they made me read this stuff that was way, way over my head. I probably should have been reading Harry Potter, you know? And I had to read La Celestina. And it was just decoding. It's like every other word, I didn't know what it was, you know? And somehow I passed the test, but I couldn't tell you what that book was about, and I have such a horrible feeling about it, I still can't bring myself to think of reading it, you know? You know? Scores of years later, right? I just can't do it. So, yeah, you have to give them something that's understandable to them. Let me show you. I'm going to show you a picture here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is the authentic one. You can take a picture of this if you want. This was back in 1983 they knew this. Authentic texts had the opposite effect of what's intended. You know, so should our students read authentic stuff? Yes, absolutely. Menus, maps, bus schedules, infographics. Of course they should read that stuff. Yeah, yes, absolutely they should read. No, not until they're level 4, level 5. No, not at all. Because they won't understand it. It'll drive them away from wanting to learn the language. I want to show you. Dang, this in an upper class. There we go. Well, okay. Is that better? There we go. Okay. And they can read whatever the heck they want. I say pick whatever you like and just read it. Look at this. This kid's reading a graphic novel of The Hobbit in Spanish. That's pretty good. We're going to come back to these two. This girl is a super sports girl in our school. She's reading ESPN Deportes, ESPN Sports, because that's what she liked. got a full ride scholarship for basketball, right, in college. This kid is reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in Spanish. It's one of the later Harry Potter ones. You can tell how thick it is. Look how thick that book is. He'd read all the other ones in class. He lives in Nicaragua now. So, yeah, he's reading. This kid's reading some kind of children's book in Spanish. I don't know what this kid's reading. There's other kids in the other part of the class. These two were the two brightest girls in class that easily, they just did great on AP, anything to do with it. This was an AP Spanish language class. She was reading the textbook of just the literary readings for the AP Spanish literature class. I didn't even teach that class. They didn't even offer it at our school. I just had some of them around, right? These samples. And she picked that to read every single time in FVR or in SSR. And I said, well, it's supposed to be interesting and comprehensible, right? She just goes, it is. Okay, all right. So that's what she read every single time. This is like easily college level reading stuff. And she's reading it for fun, and she said, yeah, I understand it and I like it, so I'm going to keep reading it. This girl's equally as bright in Spanish. She's reading, and this wouldn't be appropriate for every single class, but these guys could pick them. She's reading zoo books in Spanish. It's probably a 3rd or 4th grade level. It's simple. It's like a little 12-page color pamphlet about animals, and I bought like a set of 100 of them. And that's okay. You do stuff every day. You ever read the news on your phone? That's like a 6th grade level. What if we made you read, and the 16 level would be college, and most, at least masters, right? So the 18, what if you were not allowed to read anything that was below the 18 level? When normally you read, right? The hardest thing you've ever read in your life was the only thing you were ever allowed to read. You would quit reading. You would never read again. We want our students to read. And that's what FVR is doing. You can pick what you want. It can be simple. You can read it again. I don't care. And so this is why I tell them make a poster like this. So you have different interests and different abilities to develop. Then you need to be reading different books. And so you need to read different stuff. You can read the same thing again if you'd like. I've read the same story. I've read The Alchemist probably 14 times. There's lots of books I've read many, many times. That's cool. You can absolutely do that. We have to respect the other people that are coming in here. I'm going to try to find a couple of other things on here, but I didn't even let you ask any questions hardly. I should have told you that I started off as a middle school teacher, so I'm used to being interrupted. So you should ask me questions, right? There's one like it online on my free stuff page on my website. Yeah. We talked about this. Here's a picture of me teaching reading. 10 minutes in every class. Do this if you want to keep on teaching. Save your feet, save your voice, save your back. Right? This is me at least 10 minutes of every class every day. You can do this. Right? This is how you hold on and stay teaching at my advanced age. Okay? All right? So think about doing this. Yes?
So when you first dipped your toes into this conversation, what did that look like in your classroom? Because I've got a partner who's not as into the CI stuff. I'm going to try and work my way in there slowly. So I'm thinking it's Thursday I do on Fridays. I'll look forward to that.
That could work, yeah.
And then Does that seem like a
What
reasonable
level do you
place to
teach?
start?
1 or 2?
I do 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yep.
Would start with the first couple weeks of class. And we'll book and go in there. They're called Larkin's Litters. Someone saying yes. You know what these are? Yeah.
Those are the first things we read.
Yeah. Right. August. Books, $100, and they're tiny books, colorful. They're easy. And I say grab a handful of them because you can't go get some other one. Just grab some. And
The high school kids are like, like I'm too good for that, I'm too cool for that. Like,
I only use these like the first couple weeks of school, and then they kind of get old and they've read all of them by that time. So you'd be right if you had them do it all year long. But if you catch them right at the beginning of the year, they're just saying yes to you. Introduce this during the honeymoon period, okay? First week of school, because it says something on these. It says like El Oso Dibuja, It has a bear drawing something, and it says El Oso Dibuja un cacto. He's drawing a cactus. Un gato. It goes through it. They can tell what it means by the context, and they feel kind of good about it, But it only lasts for a little while. You've used these? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
I just have like an El Bosque and El Parque and El Jardín or something.
Yeah.
And they're the same except one is I.
Yeah.
One is yo veo.
Uh-huh.
One is nos vemos.
Right.
And it's different animals that they see.
Yeah.
And it really builds. I mean, they can see it. They figure it out. They're like, oh my gosh, I read that whole book.
They feel good about it, right? You couldn't use it all year, but you just at the beginning. But if you do this for a couple weeks with your kids, and you're teaching the high frequency verbs, they can start reading most of what these level 1 novels are out there fast. I mean, it's amazing what they can read already. We have to respect the other presenters. If you want to talk with me, we can talk while I'm packing up here or whatever. But thank you very much for coming. I appreciate you guys coming out. Muchas gracias. Sí.